say anything? You don't have to address them or anything like that? All right, good. Well, that's how we do it then. Well, I'll just say this. You know, it's getting the guys here, the staff on campus, getting together, obviously talking about what we have to do going forward has been exciting. You know, I think everybody that's a part of this staff now, and we'll complete that. We still have a few positions to get done outside of the full-time coaches as well. We'll be done here soon. But I think everybody's here is excited. You know, there's a connection from quite a few of these guys as former players or guys that have coached here, and so you know you can feel that vibe in the room. And the new coaches that haven't been at Boise State or have that background, they understand it. The brand, they've obviously known it. They've seen it, and the buzz I think around here with the staff and with the community and what they've seen has been very positive. So, guys are excited, looking forward to it. You know, we're looking forward to hitting the road on the 16th and getting out there and getting a chance to see some of these recruits and get face-to-face with people. But right now we're preparing for that, just getting everybody dialed in on what they need to be doing now and what we need to be doing in recruiting. And we'll get the team back here on the 20th. We'll have a team meeting, and that will be the first opportunity for these guys to get face-to-face with the coaches. It will be a great night for those guys. I know the team's excited about it. Had a lot of positive feedback from the team, communicating with the guys, and so we're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to getting started with this group and Coach Pittman getting going in the weight room and beginning our work towards spring practice and installing our schemes and making all those things happen. So a lot of exciting stuff right now, and guys are working. They're working hard. They're getting things done. And from the time we've been together so far with the group, those guys, they've hit the ground running. They know what they're doing. They know how to do it. And that's been fun for me to see that and just how they're bonding and making this thing work. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
You said your first press conference, you had a 10-day plan, a 30-day plan.
Yep.
Are you know, right now, being on the job almost a month now, are you where you wanted to be? How do you look at things?
Yeah, I do. I think so. I mean, I think from what I said about that, what we've had to do as far as, you know, obviously getting people in place on the staff, you know, that always takes a little bit more time, but at least having those initial conversations and working towards getting that done, all those things have happened. The recruiting part, the evaluating part, the communicating with current players, the opportunity to speak with administration and get some key people in the program over here and get familiar with them and let the staff get familiar with them. All those things have happened so far. And now the next 30 days are extremely important for us now. You know, once we do get out there and get on the road and we do have official visit weekends, those things become extremely important. And the way it's set up now, where we have a week less, you know, than we normally did because of the dead time, you know, it's those 2.5 weeks are extremely important, you know, before we get into signing days. So our guys are working towards that. We've got to be as efficient as possible in order to get done what we need to get done. But I do think we have some really good buzz going. You know, I think we got a really good thing happening, and you know, I can feel it, the vibe, and you know, just the juice with these coaches. You know, they're excited. You know, there's a lot of motivation there behind it, and you know, it's just been a good thing to watch so far.
You had your first meeting with the 10 full-time guys together in a room yet?
Well, yes, and you know, everything, you know, things will be finalized, but we've had an opportunity as a staff to get in there, you know, and support staff as well, and to go over expectations, to go over, you know, what the plan is, kind of what I talked about, to cover that more specifically towards what we have to do as a staff, and really specifically what they have to do, the assistant coaches, as far as getting out and doing what we need to do here the next 30 days, and really, you know, all the way up to spring practice. You know, we start that. We talked about, you know, these 3 phases that we have to get done leading up to the first day of practice.
You had any feedback from commitments to the old staff, and what's that feedback been like?
Yeah, we've talked with, you know, with the guys we're recruiting and you know, guys that were here. You know, for us to just kind of get in here and see everything, evaluate everything, that's what we've been doing, along with the current team. You know, you got to go back and look at that too, and just so you kind of know the history of why you're recruiting a certain way. And sometimes you see a little bit different. Maybe it's two numbers here. It really needs to be one number there, as we look at it. And, those are some of the things that we've adjusted, from the previous staff, and just had to make some things work for us and how we do it. And that's been good for the most part, knowing what has gone on here. It's pretty much where it needs to be. But at the same time, when you put together a new staff, everybody has some relationships, as they come into a staff there. And everybody has an area or coaches or things that they've done in recruiting that has made them successful at it. And so you're naturally going to go to that first. We've been able to do that. I think the one thing that we've seen, though, is just the Boise State brand. It's one thing that's very powerful. And, that's one thing I think these coaches have been really excited about is the opportunities we're having in recruiting because of that, and the phone calls or conversations we can have because of that. That gets you excited when you're able to get an opportunity to speak with some of these prospects. It makes it fun.
You go back and watch film from the season to try to get a gauge of what you have on the roster right now?
Not all of it, and I'll say this, I've watched almost every game that was on TV. I've had a chance, and I've actually gotten some film, to go back and just keep track of it, Boise State. Now, some of the coaches haven't done as much film work as I've done looking at it, but I really didn't look at it from a depth standpoint, more of a fan as you watch it, really, just hoping that they're going to do well. You start to look at and evaluate it, just current team, who's coming back. You take those seniors and you put them over there, and you start to look at what you got coming back there and your numbers. You try to find out as much information as you talk to those student athletes, anybody involved in the program about them as well, and just get caught up on, where we are with those guys. And the nice thing is we've been able to do that. Staff here has been very helpful. Coach Avalos, Coach Huff, obviously being here before, they've obviously got input and insight into, what's happened, what's going on, who these guys are, and that's been very beneficial for us. And more than anything for just the recruiting, that we have to go out there and do. Because when these guys walk back in here on the 20th, we'll sit in here and it's all new. Everybody's, starting off for the first time together. And that's really the beauty of it, and then we'll talk about what direction we're heading so everybody gets on the same page, and we're going to have to build something throughout that period of time before we go out there and play that first game.
Is there one or two positions you guys are focused on the next month that you think could use some more depth, or are you just trying to get the best guys?
Really all of them. You're always going to have, D-line is an area, that we have to concentrate on. But really, there's really every area, that we have to look at as far as taking a guy. Some you might take two. O-line, D-line are areas right now that probably have the most guys that we want to look at as far as numbers go. Other than that, pretty standard as far as one, possibly two here and there, just based off of where we are right now. And if those things change, which they can, then we obviously have to make changes in our numbers too in recruiting.
Quarterback, you already were down one scholarship quarterback here to start with, lost the commit that the former staff had. Another guy who's injured. How much of a concern is that position right now?
Yeah, well, it's always, your quarterback position is always going to be something that's focused on, especially with me, at that position. And, we look at it, Grant, you guys that are coming back, that's an important position. The numbers we want to have, we need to grow that. But, right now, I think we're obviously going to take a quarterback. I think that we'll be in a good position to do that. And quite frankly, I think the history of the quarterbacks here kind of speaks for itself. And with Coach Sanford, coming in here as coached the position, has played the position, I always think that's a bonus, for guys to be able to play for a guy that's done it, to also play for a guy that's been in a program at Stanford that's had some pretty good quarterbacks and some success. And he's obviously seen this program and what we've done here, and I'm able to provide some insight into that position as well. So, seeing you're talking about Finley, when we get him back, it'll be good to see him, to get him out there and get him in the mix, and then go from there.
Is he expected to be ready by spring practice?
I don't know that yet. I know he's made progress. I know that he wants to, so we'll decide, as he goes through the weight program and he gets stronger, everybody's a little bit different. And then, with Coach Pittman being here as well, kind of getting him rehabbed, and we're always going to make sure that if he can do something, we want him to do it. If it does take some extra time to do it right, then we're going to take that extra time. Because the bottom line is, you want to have him going in the summertime so he can get those reps. You want to have him there in fall camp and be ready to rock and roll.
How big a change is this going to be for Grant and the other quarterbacks as far as terminology and scheme and stuff like that?
Yeah, I don't know yet. I really don't. It's a lot of what the terminology was when I was here has carried over. It wasn't a complete overhaul. Style might have been a little bit different, but terminology wasn't. There's a few things, obviously, that you evolve over time, which would naturally happen in 3 years, of not being around. But I was able to come in there, and you can see the plays on the board, just the verbiage of it, and pick it right up and go, that's this, that's that, that's right, that's left. These are the names of the plays. So the interesting thing is, as we sit down with the staff, what I've done here, what I've done at Texas, what we did at Arkansas State, what Mike's done, Coach Drinkwitz has done, Coach Huff, being part of that as well. I think there's a connection there, obviously, with the guys that are in that room. But I think Mike, I think Coach Drinkwitz, those guys bring a lot to the table now with some new ideas and maybe a little bit different way of going about it. So we'll get into that more. We kind of talked about it a little bit. We talked about direction. We know what we want to do and who we want to be. Now, the wrinkle as far as terminology goes, it'll be close enough for them when they walk out there, they can go out there and execute fast. And that's really what we want in spring. We don't want them bogged down by a bunch of new information because, quite frankly, we need to evaluate talent when we're out there too. We need to evaluate them and see them play. And if they're thinking the entire time, we're not going to get a good look at of what we're trying to build or what kind of players we have and what we can do.
So does Grant go into spring ball as the presumptive starter at quarterback?
Yeah, you can say that. And you know what we say here, pecking order. We're not going to say starter. We won't get into that. But as far as the pecking order goes, naturally, he's going to be the first one coming out of a bowl game that played in the game. So as we step out there for the very first practice and take our first snap, Grant's going to be the guy doing that. And, like anything else, he did finish the season up. I think he did very well, and it's going to be great to get him back. He is a guy that I recruited, know his history and all that, his family, and a guy that I think is, a very good football player. So, but as we get into spring, like anything else, in every position now with the new staff and new eyes, you're going to have everything really open. There's guys you know about. There's guys coming back. There's guys that have done well here that everybody's aware of that will walk out there and be the first ones to go. At the same time, there's also a bunch of young guys we know nothing about that were running around practice in black shirts that have redshirted this last year that are chomping at the bit to go out there and prove themselves as well. So we have to give them those opportunities, and we will. And then we'll walk out of spring, and we probably have some positions in there undecided, probably quarterback as well. Just kidding, maybe not, maybe we won't. But we're going to have positions in there that we're going to have to figure out throughout the summer as they come back into fall camp. As long as we're prepared for Ole Miss in the first game, we got guys walking out there, and it's 11 starting, we're good.
Is it a little bit of a luxury knowing that, you put such an emphasis on the quarterback position, but you recruited Grant, and that's going to be obviously an important piece to put in place to get this thing going?
Yeah, the familiarity with him, especially I think the easiest thing to do is to watch a guy go out there and you look at him and you can see his size, you can see his strength, and you can see him play. And you can go, that guy's a good football player. And the hard part is finding out who he is. And because of that and staying in touch with Grant a little bit over the time I was gone, I know who he is. It was very easy to connect with him when I got the job. I called him. I think he was the first one I called, and just to reconnect with him. And he was excited. I was excited because we had a history there, and he came here for a reason. Spent a lot of time with him through summer camps and through the recruiting process. So, that is a bonus. Now, that is for me. Now, Coach Sanford, coaching the quarterbacks and all that, those guys need to get in there, and they've obviously had conversations and spoke in length, but they've got to go in there and rebuild that relationship, and every one of our guys on staff needs to do that within their rooms. Because everybody's different. Everybody's moved positions, even if they've been here. So that's the most important thing. That guys, we all walk in here and, we're basically starting not from scratch, so to speak, because we will have some similarities, but it really is that way, a clean slate, and we're going to start it from that point on, and guys have to reprove themselves. Coaches have to go out there and get in those meetings and show them that, all right, this is how we're going to do things, and here's the standard and what we want to do, and that'll all get done.
You said the first press conference you weren't going to just hire somebody just because they had Boise State ties, but specifically with your coordinator, how nice is it to have guys that have deep ties to this program and know the culture and things like that, and how does that help?
Yeah, I think the best part about it, there obviously is that, personal part of it as well. Both guys played here. Both guys have had a lot of, great memories here. Mike is a player. Coach Yates and I played together, coached together. But again, and I meant it, we're going to find the best guys, the best coaches for the job, because it's not, like I said it before, it's not a family reunion at Boise State. This is a program with tremendous tradition. It's got tremendous potential still. We can get better. You've got the support. You see that right now in this facility, the indoor, the press box, what they've done, grass practice fields going in. So it was about getting the best football coaches in here and program fits, and guys are going to treat our kids right, guys are going to care about academics, guys are going to do things right with our players, and guys that can recruit. And it just happened to be that I've been around Coach Yates, and I've seen that firsthand, so his resume has been right next to me during that period of time. That was an easy no-brainer. Mike Sanford, I followed him, obviously knew when he was a player, tried to hire him at Arkansas State. It was one of the first calls I made. That didn't happen, and I said, you know what, there's another opportunity here, and to be quite honest with you, he was at a great place, and he knows and I knows that there's something special about this place here. And so that was about a 5-minute conversation right there before it was like, yeah, I'd like to do that, and I really wanted to get him here. And Coach Huff, Coach Avalos, two former players here, they have tremendous pride in it. Coach Huff has been here a long time. Coach Avalos hasn't been here that long, but played here, and both guys had the same passion for the program. But again, that all being said, they're quality people, they're quality coaches, and they're guys that can help us win. And that really was the criteria when it all came down to it. And so when I mentioned that, if that brand had carried around with them for being here, that really wasn't the reason why. But that was going to be a definite bonus. And part of that now, because of the quality of people they are and coaches, that pride in this place right here starts to show up in recruiting, because you're not having to read off a list and talk about, well, this is what they have and this is what they do and here's what it is. Like, they can speak from experience to guys they're talking to, and they're not selling the program, they're sharing their experiences with them, which I think there's a lot more to that than anything else.
What are your general impressions and what kind of feedback have you gotten from the staff about last year's schemes, good and bad, positive, negative?
Yeah, none. And I don't mean that, that's not really our job to do that. Our job is to put our schemes in. Everybody and everything is done a certain way and for a reason. And I obviously know Coach Pete. I know those guys on that staff. It was well thought out. It was installed and implemented the right way. And so is there some schematic differences that we'll do? Is there maybe some different philosophies when it comes to certain things? Yeah. Does that mean anything they did was bad or anything we do is better? No. We're going to do what we believe, and when we do it that way, we can teach it. We can teach it with conviction, and we can get our guys to go out there and do that, and it fits our personnel the best, and that's what we're going to do.
You said
You
you
get
know
the
what
sense
you want to
now that it's
be
more-
on offense. What is it you want to be on offense?
Well, I think there's a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot. When you get everybody in there and we just sit down and decide, as far as what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, I think the number one thing is execution. And that really, tempo and those type of things, that's become a very in vogue word, and everybody uses it, and we're going to be the fastest team in the country, and so on and so forth. I hope we're the best executing offense in the country. All right, let's start with that. And then where it goes from there with tempo or movement and things like that, we'll decide that. But it starts with execution. So we're going to sit down and decide, what can we execute, all right, amongst the staff, which means what can we teach and what can we coach, what do we know, that we can walk in that room and try to get these guys to walk out on that field and execute it at a high level consistently. And so to me, it really starts there. Everything from that point on, we'll build from it. And I think when we get that all decided, we get in spring, you know, you guys will get a chance to see that. That'll be something that we get out there and we show. But I think the biggest thing now is, for us, like I said, is evaluating what we have coming back and what, you know, schemes and things are going to fit that. We have obviously some things that we believe that are base for us, but like anything else, we can do it a lot of different ways. We just got to make sure we can do it and execute it at a high level.
Is Mike the play caller?
Yes.
Okay. What do you envision your role in the offense being with him as a coordinator?
Oh, I don't know. I probably with the wide receiver coach, just throwing balls, I guess, over there. No, I'll be involved. You know, that's something, and I was at Arkansas State. Yeah, that's something that, you know, I gravitate towards. I obviously, one of the things I've always liked, I like calling plays. I've always enjoyed that. I like scheming, but I like coaching the quarterbacks. So that's something that, you know, I'll be around and be a part of. But Mike's going to coach the quarterbacks. Mike's going to call the plays, and I'll have my ideas and thoughts. There'll be things that I'm sure I can help out with as far as just scheme goes or game plan wise. Maybe I don't know, maybe I got 3rd and 1. I don't know. Whatever we do well at, that'll be what I got. All right? So I'll say that. But the one thing that I liked, you know, that I did at Arkansas State was I liked to be able to walk out of that room and go down to the defense because I felt it was important. I didn't want to be the 50-yard line head coach that never crossed it. I enjoyed it. I wanted to get down there. I wanted to be a part of it, and I was able to do that. And to me, I thought that was something that really fit me and really fit the team at the time. And I want to do that as well because, you know, I want to be down there with Coach Yates. I'd like to be down there with the defense, and I'd like to have, you know, we haven't talked about it, but, you know, an attitude, a mentality on that side of the ball. You know, and I know we're going to have that. I know the defensive coaches we got will provide it, but I want to be a part of that, and I want to be a part of the special teams in every phase. So that's why the guys that are on the staff right now that we've hired is with that in mind. For those guys to come in there, obviously I'm going to provide ideas, but at the same time they'll take disciplined thought and disciplined action, and they'll go get it done.
We've seen you on Twitter and active in social media and stuff. The players in the past years had a ban on that. Some of them have gotten back on. What's kind of your plan for the future? Are they going to be allowed to be on Twitter?
I haven't been on Twitter. That's not me. It's a fake Twitter account. Yeah, you know, that's obviously something that, you know, social media is something that guys use. It is a part of what, you know, we have to do. Right now it hasn't changed for our current team. And the reason I haven't had a chance to sit down and talk to them, you know, social media is fantastic and can be very good at the same time. It's something that when you're within a business or a program, it just needs to be educated. Because the bottom line is there's a message, and that message is either going to be heard only amongst the team, or if it's going to be something shared, it needs to be shared the right way. And until we have a chance to sit back in here and dive into social media, which is probably about 99th down my list right now of things we have to get done, you know, we'll do that, and we'll talk about it as a group. We haven't talked about it as a staff, but it's something that, you know, we use as coaches. These coaches are obviously they understand it, they can use it. It can be an advantage. At the same time, we just got to make sure we're on the same page when we do it.
You talked about Coach Red for a long time. What does he bring to your staff? And
Coach Red, man, what doesn't he bring? I mean, and I really mean that. He is obviously he's a very good coach. Understands, you know, the special teams, understands offense. And really, for me, you know, he's the associate head coach. He's really a guy that I lean on quite a bit as far as, you know, when I want to talk about not so much scheme-wise, but let's talk about games. Let's talk about the flow of the game. Let's talk about decisions that need to be made of the game and things like that. You know, he's a guy that I can sit down and talk to. And we want to take a timeout here. We don't want to take a timeout, go for 2. You know, we have those type of conversations. And so for me, he's been very beneficial, you know, as far as just being able to sit down and have conversations about those things. But besides that, great recruiter, great with the team, fantastic staff chemistry, you know, with him being in that room because, you know, quite frankly, he's done this for a while. He's been around some different staffs. He's seen it. And I think he brings a lot to the table of just that kind of mentality that you want, you know, in that position there. And for me personally, it's been a tremendous help.
You talk about a fresh start. When the team gathers on the 20th, it's going to be presented to them that most positions are wide open.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I mean, I think there's some obvious positions in there, but at the same time, you know, and really that was an approach that we took even if I'd been here, going into each spring. There were certain things. You have your quarterbacks or your Kellen Moore coming back his junior year or senior year, guys that have done things and all that, or guys that you want that have played a lot of football that are going to be guys in fall, and you're going to get some other guys opportunities because these guys are players. Well, right now we know nothing. All right, we only know what we've seen and heard, and quite frankly, it's our eyes, our ears. That's what it needs to be with this staff. So we have to go out there and give everybody an opportunity. If one guy gets one rep and one guy gets 6, then the other guy getting 1 doesn't quite get the opportunity. He may be something or somebody that we're missing. So for the first few practices there, you got to give guys a chance to show you what they can do. And then you start to make decisions based off of that. You watch them, you see how they're going to fit, you see how they're going to fit within the schemes you want to run, and then you start to move guys around. And it takes time to do that. So spring, as far as I'm concerned, as we go through it, we'll start making some decisions coming out of spring, but we got to take those first few practices, especially to look at these guys, give them opportunities. And quite frankly, if you're a player, that's what you're doing the entire off season, is preparing yourself to go out there and find a way to be in a starting position if you're not already.
So DeMarcus was never announced, but he has left, and is there anybody else that's not coming back?
No, just DeMarcus.
Okay, did you talk to him at all? Were you involved with him at all in that decision?
Not really, not as far as his decision on that. No, I mean, he had his, before I ever got here, the papers were in, whatever result was going to come back. I obviously spoke to him. We had conversations just because of guys like Ryan Clady and things like that, that experience. But a decision he made, we wish him all the best. He's a nice young man. I enjoyed my conversations with him. But if that's something he feels is the best thing for him, then that's what he has to do. He's made that decision. Okay. All right, thank you guys.